Hi you guys. Today I want to kind of do a little live video, and I think the title I put on this is "Too Many People Are Lost in the Sauce." And excuse me for laying down. I'm more comfortable doing videos laying down because live videos kind of make me nervous. Nevertheless, the whole purpose of this video is, just as the title says, too many people are lost in the sauce. And what I mean by that is people are getting confused between the apparent reality of chaos that we're seeing right now and the ultimate reality of perfection, which is really here. So first I'm going to start with the apparent reality of chaos. Shit's in an uproar right now. If y'all can't tell, we are in a transitioning phase. Everything is going from what it used to be to a whole new paradigm with a whole new set of rules. We literally ended an age. It talked about this in scripture. In pretty much every religion, there's a point where the age ends. They translate it as the end of the world, but it's really the end of the age. Nevertheless, we are on the cusp of that. This is what they call the apocalypse. And apocalypse actually means the revealing. The revealing, the uncovering. It's a revelation of truth. It's a revelation of Jesus Christ, who is the truth. A lot of religious people don't like to hear the word Jesus and different things like that. But when you really understand what Jesus represents, the whole entire story represents a greater reality than the little Bible story that you were given in church. Nevertheless, I want to talk about the apparent reality of chaos versus the ultimate reality of perfection that is, because people are having a hard time finding balance. First thing I want to say is about the conscious community. I want y'all to be very, very careful with this so-called conscious community, because I am here to tell you that most of the conscious community is simply just another form of religion with a new set of rules. Religion says do this, do that, and you get this and you get that. And it's the same thing we're finding in the conscious community. Now in the conscious community, if you don't wear dreadlocks or if you don't have an afro, somehow you're not woke. In the conscious community, if you eat meat, drink carbonated drinks, somehow you're not woke. This is part of the apparent reality. It is not part of the ultimate reality. The ultimate reality, anybody who's dug deep enough into spirituality, whether they know this by the mind or if they've actually had an experience of it, knows that the ultimate reality is everything is completely perfect and completely balanced as it is right now. Even amidst all the chaos that we see going on in the world, we know at the root of reality, everything is completely balanced. So the question would be, how do you rectify the two? And see, you have to operate on the two different levels, but you have to know that you're operating on two different levels, because if you don't, you get confused. Say, for instance, myself, I have a surface level where I interact quite a bit, especially on the Black movement, Black Lives Matter movement thing. You'll notice I post a lot of things about that because it is the reality on this surface level. And on this surface level, you have to be able to act on this level without letting the things going on around you get inside. Because it's only when the water on the outside of the ship gets inside that the boat begins to sink. So you have to be able to look at the things that's going on in the world, and you can actually interact with the thing that's going on in the world without letting those things get within you. Because when those things get within you, then they're going to manifest again. So the ultimate, excuse me, I gotta take a breath. The ultimate reality here is that all is God. All is literally God. Some people have said it in this way. They've said all is self. But that is actually an inversion of the truth, because God is like an ocean, and our own individual selves are like the froth or the bubbles on the shore of the beach from the waves hitting on the shore. So we're like those bubbles, but God is the actual ocean itself. And so when you say all is self, you're basically saying everything is the bubble, which is incorrect. The bubble is definitely part of God, but God is not necessarily the bubble. Nevertheless, right now in reality, I want to say that if anybody on the surface level, talking about the surface level, if anybody does not understand the whole Black Lives Matter movement and what black people are doing, then you are clearly the problem. You are the problem. It is so plain. If you can't see what's going on, then you clearly don't want to see. You clearly don't want to see. But I want you to know that if you're one of those people who are sitting back, basically doing nothing, and by doing nothing, I mean even thinking certain thoughts is doing something, because your thoughts manifest into this reality. So if you're sitting back thinking nothing and doing nothing, know that you will be subverted to the subconscious. Okay? Because there's nothing that remains on this conscious field that is here basically wasting space. You will be subverted to the subconscious. There's 3 levels of reality. Just like in the movie Matrix, there were 3 matrices. There was the subconscious, which was the machine city. Then there was the conscious level, which was the matrix itself. And then there was the superconscious, which was considered Zion. And so the same thing is true in this reality. It's a matrix within a matrix within a matrix. See, everybody wants to escape the matrix, but what you don't realize is when you escape one matrix, you're going into another matrix. So it's basically different levels to this shit is what it all is. It's different levels, and you can pretty much, if you get tired of one level, you can go up and you can go down a level. And hence the term in the Bible where it says that Jacob wrestled with the man and he's seen a ladder going up into heaven with the angels of God ascending and descending. And essentially that's what that's talking about. There's different matrices that you can actually be in, and it's completely up to you. So when I talk about the apparent reality versus the ultimate reality, I'm talking about the apparent reality is the matrix that we're presently in, but you can leave that matrix. There's a human matrix, but outside of the human matrix, there's a matrix of nature, and it's created in the same way. The human matrix consists of numbers and wording. If you learn anything about etymology of our language and different things like that, you will see that certain words appear in certain places and certain symbology, and you'll see the weave work of this human matrix. But in the same way, when you begin to learn sacred geometry and molecules and atoms and which are basically the letters and words of nature, atoms and molecules, they're the building blocks in the same way that the alphabet is the building blocks of our language. So when you begin to see the sacred geometry within the natural world, you realize that it is a matrix within its own self. So it's like a dream within a dream within a dream. The problem is that people are getting, they're tethered. What do they call that? Purgatory, where you're toggling between 2 different dreams. So you operate within this real realm where there's pain, there's hardship, there's joys and happiness, but at the same time, you also know intellectually that all of this is energy, and there's really no distinguishing between one thing and another thing. Something like when scientists, what they do is they cut things in half, and then they keep going until they get to the smallest point, and they cut that in half, and they keep going and going and going. And what they found is when they can only cut so far to where this one particle is present everywhere. So they've come to the conclusion that there's one unified field. Okay, and so everything that you see is part of this one unified field. It's all energy vibrating at different frequencies. So whereas my hand looks solid, if you go down far enough with a microscope, you will see that basically it's a series of molecules, but at the lowest level, it's just one. But basically, it's a series of molecules vibrating really, really fast to where it looks solid, like that. See? And so the same thing is true with everything. So the same molecules that make up my body is the molecule that makes up this floor, is the molecule that makes up this pillow. And the only thing that distinguishes the difference between myself and the pillow is the rate of vibration that we're going at. Right? But the substance is the same. That substance we have called God. That is the substance. It's and that's on the matter level. That's just talking about the flesh portion of us. So scientists has already said that every single thing within manifestation is contained in this one substance. We call it Mother Nature. But what we don't realize is that there is a Father God who interpenetrates Mother Nature and gives Mother Nature her shape. It's the same way you have a body who is representative of Mother Nature. But your spirit inhabits that body, penetrates it, and animates it, and gives it its characteristics. Okay? So there is a Mother Nature, but there is also a Father God. And what we don't realize is not only do we share the same substance bodily from every other object in the manifested universe, but we also share the same spirit as everything else in the manifested universe. And I was just talking with someone on Facebook today where you can tell those who are really in the flow of the spirit, because the same thing you'll be thinking, you'll jump on Facebook or you'll go down the street and talk to your friend, and you'll notice everybody's on the same page. Everything that they're saying is somewhat around the thoughts that have been coming into your mind. And this is simply because your mind is more or less like a receiver. It receives in these waves and it produces an external reality. So in the same way that whenever your mind within your head, that you consider your mind, produces thoughts or feelings, those go out in electronic impulses throughout your entire body. So it is safe to say that each one of your cells within your body who are conscious, because you don't make them do what they do, they have the consciousness within themselves to, keep renewing your body, to excrete waste, to do all the things that they do. They have a form of consciousness, albeit a lesser form of consciousness. So nevertheless, they receive these impulses from you, okay? And how it manifests to your cells, we don't know. For all intents and purposes, we're cells within a larger body. And so we receive impulses, some say through the sun, some say through the aurora borealis lights. Nevertheless, we receive these impulses that we have translated into what we consider our world. And so just like the cells in our bodies, we reproduce. Just like the cells in our bodies, we do jobs, we go to work, we excrete waste, we do all of these different things. And so the point I'm trying to get at is, what we don't realize is that we're all living in this unified field, and what we get through the television, what we get through the radio, the very things that are coming out of our own mouth are all part of this one spirit that controls all of this. So it's kind of like the movie with Eddie Murphy, I think it was called The Clumps, where in the movie, he literally plays every single character. There may be like one or two characters that he didn't play, but in the movie, he plays majority of the characters there. And it is exactly the same way. Although you don't realize it now, you see me as a separate entity from yourself, but at some point in time, or some point out of time, actually, some point in eternity, you will be able to see that all of these different bodies are different eyes through which you see your own self. Okay, so when you look at me, I am actually you on a different setting. Like, the different things that occurred in my life produced certain actions produce different reactions, and this continued on up until now, which created me as I am presently known. And the same thing for you. What we don't realize is at the bottom of all of that, at the very, very core, the seed, at the very beginning, before actions and reactions, causes and effects, is the same exact person. Just like I said with the movie with Eddie Murphy and The Clumps, how Eddie Murphy was actually all of the different characters on different settings, different personas, which is where we get the word person from. It comes from ancient Greek, where they would have the amphitheaters, where, you know, before they had movies and stuff like that, they would actually do plays on the amphitheaters, and they would wear masks, and they were called personas. And so we've just like we always do, we've taken the word and made the word person. Nevertheless, that's what a person is. It's simply a mask, which is why you see Future, listen to the symbology, Future come up with a song called Mask Off. What is this telling us? This is telling us in the future, the mask is coming off. The mask of what? The mask of me, you, and everybody else who's actually the same one person. Okay. And so now what I want to say about that is I want to go into this conscious community thing and how the conscious community has basically turned consciousness into a new religion. And it has all kinds of stipulations and rules. Don't eat meat. Don't do this with your hair. Don't bathe in this, you know, and you're constantly on this worry about different things being poisoning. You're constantly on this worry about what religion is. Do I pray or do I not pray? You know, there's PRAY, PREY, you know, and so it becomes very stressful. And so consciousness, what was supposed to liberate you from your chains, begin to become the chains themselves. And I want people to be very conscious of this. And the reason why I say this is because you are me and I am you. And so I know what you go through because of what I go through. And so the only way I can help myself out of that is by sending out a message to the rest of my cells. The rest of my cells. Okay, so that is basically the conversation I'm having right now. I want you to know that in the ultimate reality, at the bottom of the bottom, it really doesn't matter what you eat. And I'll tell you why. Because a chicken leg is made of the same substance as a strawberry. I'm going to let that sit in. Oh, I know there's going to be backlash from this one, but it's the absolute truth. It's facts. All is God. So the chicken leg is God just as much as the fruit is God. And so this is why they say when you get to a certain place where you're really conscious, where you get to the bottom of the rabbit hole, there actually are no rules, because there are no chicken legs and there are no strawberries and there is no you and there is no me. And this is the bottom of the rabbit hole. You see what I'm saying? But if you want to play the game, if you want to be the persona, if you want to wear the mask, that's nothing wrong with that. There's absolutely nothing wrong with that. The only reason we're coming across of this ultimate truth of this reality, that there really is this something came out of nothing and it is for nothing and you're going nowhere. This is the reality. And the only reason this truth has come out is because we were getting so engrossed in the play. We were getting so trapped up in the confines of our own mind until we left ourselves, which again, we're all one entity. We left ourselves different little clues everywhere, so that if and when things got out of control, because we kind of left it in autopilot, if and when things got out of control, we would be able to remember and wake up from this dream of living somewhere and being someone and doing something. It is all a dream. Roll, roll, roll your boat gently down the stream. Merrily, 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 life is but a dream. There's really only one entity here. But before we, as in that one entity, manifested itself in manifold forms, which you see before you, we were resting peacefully, no movement whatsoever, in eternal darkness and contemplation. But at some point, we wanted to experience things. I mean, can you imagine that, sitting in a, say, outer space of darkness with just you for all eternity? So you intentionally limited yourself in order to have these experiences, in order to die. Because an eternal being, think about it. An eternal being, the only thing you cannot do is die. That's the only thing you cannot do. But you, being the God that you are, found a way to die. And how do you do that? You limit your knowledge, because you're all knowing. You limit your knowledge. You forgot that you was immortal. So you really believe in death now. You're scared of death. You have fear. If you're all knowing and all powerful, what is there to fear? What is there to fear? Nothing. You see, so you wonder why we seem as humans, we seem very obsessed with death. You notice we love scary movies. We love watching gruesome shit on Facebook. Like if somebody got beat up, if somebody died, we want to see them, if they jump from a building, we want to actually see them fall all the way down and smash. Like we really are pretty sadistic when you think about it. And we like to pretend like we're not. Everybody like to pretend like, oh, we're not. But you love scary movies. Yes, you do. Yes, you do. You love gory shit. You love seeing death. You remember back in the day, they had a old VHS you could rent from the movie store called Faces of Death. People love that shit. And guess what? It's still the same. You still love that shit. You can deny it if you want to, but you do. And there's a reason you love that shit. Because that's the only thing you actually can't do. You can't die. You can't fear. You can't be afraid when you're all knowing. And in your ultimate state, you don't get those privileges. And so you learn about the death cult is what they called it. The Saturn death cult, where they use the black box, and where we get Satan from, which is Saturn, which is Santa, and all of these different things. Hi, Mom. Hi, Joseph. And I see a lot of y'all here. Planting New Growth, Mr. Hill. Hi, how are you? So, the thing is you have to be careful in getting lost in the sauce. It's the whole reason we're coming out of the sauce is because you were getting lost in the sauce. So lost in the sauce that you were torturing yourself beyond what you actually wanted to. And that's the truth. So as you watch all this bullshit going on in the world, I want you to know the ultimate reality of things, which is you're going to be absolutely fine. I don't give a shit what they do to you. I don't care, whether you're the white supremacist who hates, presently in America, if you're the white supremacist who hates black people and think all black people should die, if that's the persona you're playing, if that's the role you're playing, if that's the mask you're playing, then play your part well. If you are, like myself, on the other end of the stick, and you're not really happy about the situation, then go ahead and play that part, because ultimately that's the reason you're here. You're here to play a part. A lot of y'all probably already know that I'm a nurse, and right now I work in a Alzheimer's unit. And one thing that I notice happens that when the sun goes down close to nighttime, all the residents pile up by the door, and they're all trying to escape. But a funny thing I noticed is that they all have different ideas about where they are. Some of them think that they're at a school and they're there to teach. Some of them think they're at a school and they're there to learn. Some of them think they're at a church and they're there to save people from their sins. You see, but nobody remembers that they were there yesterday. Nobody remembers that they'll be there tomorrow. They all are insisting upon going home. And so I only work 2 days a week, but every weekend that I'm working and I'm over there and they begin to do that, I begin to see the connections between the world in which we live now and the place where I work. I begin to see this world like a Alzheimer's unit, because that's exactly what it is. When you look around, most people here do not remember that last life you were here. Most people here do not know that next life you will be here. There's different levels there. I believe it's 7 levels, 7 kingdoms: animal, plant, mineral, celestial, angelic, so on and so forth, human. There's 7 different kingdoms, ladders, depending on where you'll be, but you'll fucking be here. In the same way, all of my Alzheimer's patients, when I get back to work, they're going to be there, though they don't know it. They all pack up their things and they're trying to go home. And that's what I see a lot on the internet. Everybody is trying to pack up their mental shit and go home because they don't realize that they are home. It's the same problem we have in America with what are called African Americans. They don't realize they're all trying to go somewhere and they don't realize that you are home. And even bigger than that, the whole entire earth is your home. So when you start limiting yourself to one continent, shits get sticky. Nevertheless, we're just like the Alzheimer's patients. We believe that we're going somewhere. We believe that if we just figure out the code, see, we have a little door system where you press the code on the door. And so the residents, they see people pressing the code on the door and leaving out. So you'll see them go up to the door and they'll press the little button and wait for the door to open, and it never does open for them. And they think at that time, hey, Tasha, they think at that time, if they figure out the code to the door, they can just get out and make it home. And that's what we're doing here. We're reading into religion. We're checking into the ancestors. All you hear about now is ancestors. We're going back into old religions with the sage and the cleansing and the witchcraft. We're gathering up all our old pictures and all our old things from out of our room, and we're headed towards the door, and we're trying to figure out the fucking code because we think we're going home. But you have Alzheimer's, my friend. You have a dis-ease of the mind called Alzheimer's. And I'm here to tell you that you were here in this world yesterday and you will be here tomorrow. Now, I understand that you have to go to your nurses, aka conscious leaders, and get your medicine that allows you to sleep easy, that allows you to be in this world half asleep. And you need that. But I want you to understand that you're not going to figure out the code, and you're not going anywhere. You don't even realize that you've been here before. You were here last life. Look at some of those pictures of ancestors. I have a couple of them on my page, namely American Indians, but look at some of those pictures, and you will clearly see we're coming into the age where everything is being recorded. So you will be able to look back in the past and find yourself in the past. And I guarantee you that you would have been doing some of the same shit that you're doing now, which is why you see a lot of pictures of people back then look like a lot of pictures of famous people we have today. Because the people who are famous now are the people who were famous then, and who are going to be the people who are famous tomorrow. Everything has its place. You see what I'm saying? And there's nothing new under the sun. Absolutely nothing new under the sun. So as you're going through your life living in this apparent illusion, this world, with this world of duality is what it basically is. As you go through this, remember that there is a ultimate reality behind that. It's just like the weaving of a lot of y'all probably don't know much about weaving these days, but if you weave something, on the front of it, it'll have a clear picture of something. And on the back side, you can see the stitching. And so what I'm saying is all this chaos that's going on in the world right now with the hurricanes, the floods, the earthquakes, the division, the separation, all of this shit, that's just the picture that's on the front. But behind that, there is a unity, there is a perfection, there is a balance here. So you find that there are really two ways of dealing, there's three ways really, but we're just going to talk about two ways. There's two ways of dealing with this reality. Hi, Delana. Two ways of dealing with this reality. You can do something or you can do nothing. In occult knowledge, they refer to it as the world of duality and the world of unity. But you could either do something or you could do nothing. Now, I want you to understand that there's, let me see a way to explain this to you where you could really understand it. There's three, just like I said earlier in this video, where there's three matrices. There's the Zion, Machine City, and then there's the Matrix. Or there's the ego, the id, and the super ego. Or there's heaven, hell, and earth. These are all corresponding things. Or there's the sun, the moon, and then there's the black sun, who is called Ra. There's Isis, Is, Ra, and then the El. There's three of everything. There's knowledge, wisdom, and understanding. There's always three. There's the body, the spirit, and the mind, or the body, the spirit, and the soul. You know, it's a trinity everywhere. The Father, the Son, the Holy Spirit. It's a trinity everywhere. So there's three levels of interpreting your reality. Okay. And what I'm saying, when you get lost in the sauce is God. God is all three. You see that? God is the entire sauce. But you see, he gave you three ways, three levels to live on. You can live on the level of the Father. Those are the people that are out there saying, I am God. You can live on the level of the Son. Those are the people who still think they're human. Or you can live on the level of the Holy Spirit. And those are the people who have totally dissolved their ego and they don't believe that there's them at all. Either way. Okay. So there's three states of mind, 3 states of being. In the same way there's solid, liquid, and gas. Okay. Father, Son, Holy Spirit, so on and so forth. Yeah, you just see, Delana just said she watched the video on this, which takes me back to what I was saying earlier. If you notice and you pay attention and you focus good enough, you'll notice everything that you will hear will be tending around the same subject, because we all share in this, we all drink of the same spirit. We've all been baptized in the same death. And what that is saying is, our ultimate self, who is God, who is all-knowing, who is all-powerful, who is all-eternal, has died to become this limited self who doesn't know that it doesn't die, who doesn't know that it knows everything. You see what I'm saying? So, nevertheless, we have all been baptized into the same death. We have all been baptized into the same spirit. So there's 3 levels of interpreting things. So when we look at we're getting lost in the sauce. We're toggling between the 3 and we're not making no fucking sense. You see what I'm saying? Because when you say you have to, and I'm guilty too. But I just wanted to clarify this, because if you can get lost in the sauce, that's absolutely fine, long as you can find your way out. I'm afraid for those parts of myself that have a hard time finding their way out. And I know there are parts of myself that have a hard time finding their way out, because I am me, and I have the ability to be very aware of different aspects of myself. So it's almost like a split personality type thing. I know that sounds crazy, but that's the reality. It's like a split personality. So you need to know that, first of all, stop judging. When I say stop judging, that's the middle path. That's the do nothing path. It's do something or do nothing. You see, okay, let me try to show it to you like this. Like in the Bible, there's the Old Testament. Well, for you to be over here. Old Testament, Gospels, and the New Testament. Okay. But you ever notice the Gospels, which represent Jesus, which is the only place that Jesus actually made a bodily appearance in the whole entire Bible, is not quite directly in the middle. It's slightly to the right. Slightly to the right. So you can't open the Bible up and go directly in the middle and find Jesus or the bodily appearance of Jesus. It's slightly to the right. And it's because Jesus is the sacred heart of the Bible. Jesus is the center of the Bible. But as within our body, our heart is slightly to the left. If you look at the Bible a certain way, so is the heart of the Bible, slightly to one side. You see what I'm saying? So those essentially are the 3 sides. The Old Testament speaks to the fear of the people. People are led by fear. What they do is they determine their actions by avoiding the things that they don't want. That's how they determine all their actions. They constantly are avoiding or being repulsed from the things they don't want. When you go to the New Testament, their actions are guided by going towards the things that they do want. So I hope I can help you to see the difference there. When a person is guided by fear, their whole entire action based is based off of moving away from the thing that they fear. Okay? People who are based in love, or the conditional love, move towards the things that they want. So when you get into the gospel, the middle portion, you're not moving away from that which you fear, nor are you moving towards that which you want. You are in a mode of acceptance. This is called the middle path. This is what Buddha taught. Buddha was the middle path kind of man. Jesus is the love man, the move towards what you want. Moses is the man that says move away from what you don't want. You see what I'm saying? So the middle path is basically a path of no judgment. You don't judge a thing whether it's good or bad. You don't say, if something happens, you don't say, well, that was bad. and I'm going to move away from that. Or if something good happens, you don't say that was good, and I'm going to move towards that. You don't move either way. It's the plane of inertia. It's the plane of non-movement. It's the eye in the middle of the storm. Okay, it's the place of non-judgment. And that's what I mean by you need to stop judging things. If you want to be in that place, that is what is considered heaven, according to Scripture. It says the kingdom of heaven is within you. On both sides, you have movement. On one side, you have movement away, and on the other side, you have movement towards. If you checked out some of my other videos about duality, you'll see it's always manifested as red and blue, or it's going to be white and black, or any other combination of those colors. And you'll see it even within the football field. That's what football represents. You have the two different teams, and they're basically, the ball is going back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. And it's the same thing in this reality as far as the duality. But there is a middle ground. There is a middle ground where you actually don't pick a side. You're directly in the middle. If you studied anything about Kabbalah or the tree of life, you notice there's the column of Boaz, which is severity, and there's the column of Jachin, which is the pillar of mercy. But there's the middle column, which Jesus represents. Jesus is the representation of balance. There is the middle column, which they say in Judaism takes you straight to God. And so that is the column of acceptance. It's the column of complete gratitude. So that whatever, no matter what goes on or what happens, you're in complete acceptance. So you have a side of fear, you have a side of love, and then you have the middle, which is unconditional love. It's called agape love. Hey, Z. It's called agape love. It's unconditional love because in that space, in the eye of the storm, is where you are in a space of non-judgment. You don't deem something or label something as good or bad, because in your limited knowledge, you really don't know what is good and what is bad. Things that seem good today can turn out for your detriment by tomorrow. And things that seem to be for your detriment today can actually turn around and be a blessing to your life. So the reality is you actually don't know what is good and what is bad. So the best place to really stay is in the place of non-judgment, the place of unconditional love, love being acceptance. Unconditional acceptance, you accept that which is good and you accept that which is bad. Because you realize that there is actually no good and no bad. And even beyond that, if you can get in that space, which is by religion is called heaven, you can realize that there actually is no you. And this is why in religion it talks about the destruction of the flesh. That's what they're talking about, the destruction of the ego. The ego, the flesh, which is the thing that houses your spirit. It's the same thing as if you had a bottle of water and you put it in the ocean. Or let me say it this way. If you had an empty bottle and you took it and you dipped it in the ocean and you let it fill up with water and you closed it up and then you threw it in the ocean. Okay. Essentially, that's what you are. You are that bottle of water in the ocean. There is no difference between the water that is inside of you and the water that makes up the ocean. The only difference is the flesh, aka the bottle. So when people talk about this enlightenment experience, which is the same experience that Buddha had, Jesus had, Confucius had, and any of the great people who started religions in this reality, they had that experience where the bottle melted away and the water inside of the bottle was merged and infused with the entire ocean. At which point they realized that there is actually no me. What I considered me is a bottle. The only thing that separates the real me, which is the water inside of this vessel, from the water outside of the vessel. So you cannot really say you're truly conscious. You cannot say you're truly, really enlightened until you've had this experience of the melting away of the bottle that separates the water of the word, you, from the water of the world, which is also you. But until the flesh, the ego, is destroyed, you don't know this. You really believe you exist. And for a time, for a season, you do exist separate from the ocean. But as all roads lead to Rome and all rivers lead to the ocean, you too shall return back into the oversoul. You will return back into the oversoul. And so when you get off into these tangents about eating meat, and you get off into these tangents about wearing your hair a certain way, wearing a certain dress, speaking a certain way, any of these external manifestations, you're arguing about an illusion. And if you want to do it for fun, that's absolutely fine. There's no problem with that. But you need to know consciously that this is an illusion. Now, with the information age, a lot of people are getting this information and they've really never had this experience. They've never had this melting away of the ego. Hence, in religion where it says, Jesus had to die for you to live. Jesus is the ultimate reality. The ultimate you, the omnipotent, eternal you, the you that is the ocean, you see. Jesus had to die for you, which is the bottle with some of the ocean in it, had to die for you to live. You know how they say that this body cannot contain all that is God? What they're basically saying is that the bottle cannot contain the entire ocean. But notice when Jesus says, he says that I and my Father are one. Know that I am in my Father and my Father is in me. It's analogous to what I said about the bottle of water in the ocean. You see, the water, who is God, is in Jesus, who is the bottle. But Jesus, who is the bottle, is also in God, who is the ocean. And it's the same thing here. You just fail to realize that because you're lacking a genuine experience of enlightenment. So until you have a genuine experience of enlightenment, you have to go off other people's testimony. And that is what religion is. Religion is based off of belief because you do not yet know for yourself. And I'll tell you, belief and knowledge are antipathies to each other. Knowledge is not where belief is, and belief is not present where knowledge is. They don't occupy the same same space. Just like they say faith and fear cannot occupy the same space. Same exact thing. The reason I tell you this is because, say for instance, I'm brown skinned. I don't have to believe that I'm brown skinned. I know that I'm brown skinned. I will never tell somebody I believe that I'm brown skinned. If I say that I believe that I'm brown skinned, then that in itself, that statement in itself, shows that I have no knowledge of what color I am. I am simply going off of what somebody told me. And therefore I believe that I'm brown skinned. But when you look in the mirror and you see for yourself the truth of what you have believed this whole time, your belief has been upgraded to knowledge. And it's the same thing with religion. People don't realize religion is based off of somebody else's testimony of enlightenment, somebody else's experience that they had with the ultimate reality, somebody else's experience of the melting of the ego back into its creator, into its source. And so you believe this off of their testimony because you have not went through this experience. Once you look into the mirror of life and you have this experience yourself, then nobody has to tell you. You don't have to believe that you're immortal. You know that you're immortal. You don't have to believe that you're God. You know that you're God. Not only do you know that you're God, you know that he's God and she's God and it's God and that's God and this is God, and every event, every person, everything is God. But you're lacking a genuine experience of enlightenment. And I believe that a lot of this information that is coming out is stunting people's growth, because it's like trying to help a rose petal open up. If you ever try to help a flower open up and don't allow it to open up on its own, you will notice at the end of your endeavors that you have tore the whole fucking flower apart. All the petals are on the ground. You cannot open the flower without ripping the petal off. You can't do it. Have you ever tried to help a butterfly out of its cocoon before its time? Have you ever tried to help a baby chick out of its egg before its time? If you have, then you will know that that is not the thing you want to do. And so, as the title of this video says, a lot of people are getting lost in the sauce because they are knowing the experience of enlightenment intellectually, but they're no longer seeking this experience for themselves, and they're missing out. They know intellectually that they are God, but have your ego melted? Has the soul of the universe actually came down and kissed your little soul? Has the water of the ocean actually seeped in and merged with the water inside the Bible? Inside the body, excuse me. If not, then you're operating from belief, and your belief is not your own. You're operating on borrowed time, so to speak. You cannot say it is yours unless it comes from within you. You see? So a lot of people are out here teaching on something they really have no inner connection with. They have a mental knowledge, but they have no inner connection with this thing. Because when you really have an inner connection with this thing, then you realize the foolishness of some of the shit we say. Like I say, even myself, I'm guilty of it. The only difference is when I'm saying these things, I know that I am wearing a persona. I know that I'm wearing a mask. I know that I'm just playing the game. It's like chess. You're just making moves, you know. So I'll do Facebook posts. I'll put all kinds of shit, just making moves. But again, in the same way, I know that this is a game. I don't really take this shit serious. I can't take it serious. How can you take it serious? If you take it serious, that's because you've never had a true experience of what this reality is. The ancients call it Maya. Maya means illusion. All of this shit is an illusion. I know it feels so real. It feels so real. If you burn yourself on the stove, that shit gonna hurt. All of it feels so real. But I promise you, it is an illusion that you created to enjoy yourself. Hey, Keisha. Good to see you, friend. It is an illusion that you created. So basically, don't get yourself all in a tizzy over what's going in the world. And by all means, don't let that seep into your spirit. You could play the game. You could do the politics, you know, and all of that. But don't let it seep into your spirit, because the inner reality becomes the outer form. And so if you let that hate, if you let that anger get inside of you, then I guarantee you within due season, it will manifest in your external reality, whether it be in your body as dis-ease, or whether it be in the world around you as dis-ease. That's where the whole word dis-ease come from. Dis-ease. Your mind is not at ease. And again, I did a video earlier, but I'm going to say it again. This is why Jesus, or the character of Jesus, actually, because Jesus is an archetype. If you know anything about Carl Jung, you know about archetypes and how they play themselves over and over again in everything you see. Even in the movies, Superman represents something deeper than you could ever imagine. Batman represents something deeper than you can imagine. Catwoman, I mean, the Transformers. Watch the movies. If you have gotten into the flow of the spirit, then you can understand the language of symbolism. And if you can understand the language of symbolism, when you watch movies, when you watch the news, when you listen to people talk, you realize there's a deeper reality here. The spirit is speaking to you. The spirit has been speaking to you. And by spirit, I mean the deeper reality of you. And you have not been able to understand its language. But again, there is a part of you that don't want you to wake up. Because believe it or not, a lot of people are not going to want to hear this, but the truth is hard to bear. We, and by we, I mean the one central spirit of it all, doesn't really want to deal with the truth. Because the truth is you're here alone. And by you, I mean me. And by me, I mean her. And by her, I mean him. And by him, I mean that lamp. Where the truth is hard for people to bear. And therefore, you hear the old axiom, and everything that we say come from the one spirit that we're all baptized in. You hear the old axiom, you want the truth, but you can't handle the truth. And that is so truer than people want to actually realize. Because when you get to the bottom of the fucking rabbit hole, a lot of y'all is falling down the rabbit hole right now. Oh, It's just like Alice in Wonderland. Your whole fucking reality is switching up on you. The rabbit talking about, hurry up, we gotta go, we gotta go, we gotta go. Mad Hatter over in the corner laughing about some shit you don't even know what he's laughing about. You know what I'm saying? Like, a lot of people are going down the rabbit hole, but when you get to the bottom of the rabbit hole, it's awful dark down there, y'all. It's dark and it's scary. And down there, everybody float, like it say. So we want the truth, but we really can't handle the truth. So we take the truth in bite size. And that's okay. Matter of fact, you don't have to never know the truth. So I want to tell, a lot of y'all is out here searching for truth, and this shit is tearing up your whole fucking life. You have become so disillusioned with this world that there's nothing, you don't wonder about anything in the world. Hence where we see the movie Wonder Woman coming out now, because we're getting back into that childlike wonderment where we're looking at our reality and we're saying, what is this really? We're no longer taking what we've been taught. We're no longer taking, oh, well, that's the sun. Oh, well, that's the moon. You know, these simple answers. We want to see for ourselves. We really want to, we're beginning to wonder again. And that's what makes the world wonderful, is when you wonder. You see what I'm saying? So we're getting back to that. Yeah, people don't want to believe the truth about Christianity. And just Christianity is just like this world, and just like your body. There's different levels to this shit. And all of the religions are true on a certain level. But as you know, as you go up the level, what was true on the last level you was on is no longer true on this level. It continuously changes, you know, so there's no one set of rules for all people. And I think that's where we're going wrong at. It's just like the school system. There's no one way to teach all people. Different people learn differently. So you find people in the school system getting lost in the fucking sauce because you're trying to have one formula for everybody, and it just doesn't work. It's the same thing with religion. It's the same thing with what we consider the conscious community right now. I really hate to see that shit where they're making one set formula for all, and it's just another religion with another set of rules is what it is. Because true spirituality knows that there are really not any rules. There aren't really any rules. True spirituality. There's no set. Let's put it this way. Not to say that you're lawless, because what I just said was kind of misleading if you don't understand what I'm saying. So give me a moment to explain. Not that there are no rules. There are no uniform set rules for people, okay? Rules are on the individualistic basis. Just as no two bodies are alike, the same can be said for the rules or the what's the word I want to use? Well, I don't know what I was going to say about that, but nevertheless, just as no two bodies are the same, you can't set up the same rules to work for two different people. You have to set up rules that are specific for you, to the optimal health of your body and your mind, not to his body and his mind. And that's where religion went wrong. You see what I'm saying? What worked for Jesus may not work for you. And what worked for Jesus is not exactly the same formula that Buddha used. And the same formula that Buddha used is not the same formula that Muhammad used. But at the end of the day, it's just like a hand. You see these different fingers? That's the different religions. Christianity, Islam, blah, blah, blah. If you go deep enough, when you look, see, look at that. See, it look like all different religions. You see that? But when you pan back your vision, you realize they have one central core from which all of them stem. You see? That's called the palm, which is why Jesus came in with, then they were throwing palm branches down. You understand? The palm, all of the fingers stem from that one palm. It's the same thing with religion. It's the same thing with you and I. You look different from me, from the table, from the chair. But when you turn to the back, when you go deep enough, you realize we are all part of one spirit who is manifesting itself in different manifestations. You see? And it's the exact same thing with religion. So while you're operating on this level, I'm a Moor, I'm a Islam, I'm a Christian, I'm a Jew, I'm a this, everybody, all these different fucking things. I'm black, I'm white, I'm human, I'm God. These are all the different fingers. Don't forget every now and again to pan back your vision and see that all of this shit is the same. I know this is going to hurt some of y'all feelings. This white people, this black people, pan back. All manifestations of one God. Of one God. But just like you, within your own mind, you know when you go to bed at night, they say that dreaming is taking your useless, basically the useless information that you ran throughout the day, and it's kind of burying it in your subconscious. Well, I want y'all to know that God does the same thing. So if you think you're going to chill up in God's sauce and be useless, I would just want you to know that at the end of the age, your ass is going to get buried in God's subconscious, okay? That is the outer darkness reserved, as the scripture says, for the wandering stars. So while you looking for God up in what you consider heaven out there in the darkness, I want you to know that God is within. That's right. That's right. That's right. So instead of trying to get on the internet and learn about other people's experience of God, or the ultimate reality, or the higher self, or let's see, what are the higher power? I don't know. Y'all keep coming up with all kinds of different terms for this all-pervading spirit, the Great Spirit. Instead of trying to learn other people's experience and trying to learn intellectually about this greater experience, you need to really stop fucking with other people. And they say go within, but that's if you don't understand what going within is, and that's very difficult. It's even harder for your brain to grasp that. What the fuck you mean go within? You know what I'm saying? So I'm not going to say that. I'm not going to say that. But what I am going to tell you is that God is closer to you than your own breath. The scripture says. Why is that? Because God is your breath. Did you know that spirit in Hebrew, it's called ruach? Ruach. And I think in Greek it's pneuma, like as in pneumonia, the breath, pneumonia is the inflammation of the lungs, is pneuma or ruach, which means spirit, which is why the monks and all the ancients, they would focus on, when they say spiritual, it's just talking about different breathing. Even with their mantras, it's your breath coming out, creating certain vibrations. Again, the whole entire reality is vibrations. They would say, which is all the vowels, A-E-I-O-U, and then O-M, which the Eastern philosophy, is the name that they use to represent the great spirit, the great pervading spirit that basically manifests this entire world, what we call the creator. But they say the vowels. A-E-I-O-U, you hear it? A-E-I-O-U, and then A-E-I-O-U, but you do it real fast. A-E-I-O-U, And you ever notice that whenever we're talking and we can't think of something, it's like your brain gets stuck. What's the first thing you say? You say, let me see, because I was going to the store tomorrow, and they got those people that say after every sentence, and I'm kind of guilty of that a little bit. But that's why we say because actually opens up your spirit and allows you see, it's like you get blocked. It opens up your mind, it opens up your spirit, it opens up your lungs, and it allows that information that you're trying to flow, it allows it to flow in. And so the same is true with when you do chanting. When you do chanting and you say A-I-O-U, you're literally opening yourself up to the vibrations. In the same, you're like changing the channels on the radio. Even though y'all don't realize it, there is more frequency that we cannot pick up than there is that we can. We literally only pick up 1% of the bandwidth. 1%. So there's more going on around you than you even really know. Now, I'm going into, yes, raises your vibration. Exactly. Which is why we say when we can't think of what the hell we want to say, we say, because it opens something up within you. It's the name that they give for this all-pervading spirit. So, and with that, I'm going to go into the pineal gland. I was talking about the pineal gland the other day. The pineal gland has the same it has rods and cones in it, just like your eye does. Except for, people wonder, well, why does it have rods and cones and it's hidden way back in there? It's like in a little crevice in a cave. And just like they say, Jesus was hidden in a rock. And if you think this is not biblical and you think this is not scriptural for all you hard-die, literal Christian fans, I'm a Christian mystic. I believe the Christian story, but I believe it mystically. I believe it in the form of archetypes and symbolism and correspondence, that this little story has relevance to a greater reality here. Nevertheless, the pineal gland is mentioned in the Bible, where Jacob, who is the head and founder of the nation of Israel, of whom the whole Bible refers to, there's a place in there in the book of Genesis where he says, he put some rocks down on the ground, and it says he built an altar there for God. It said, because here I have seen, I will call this place Peniel, because here I have seen the face of God, is what he said. Now, why would he say something like that? Well, again, the pineal gland has rods and cones in it, just like your eyeball does, but it's deep within your head. So what is it designed to see? Well, what the rods and cones do is they pick up on the different vibrations, and they translate that, they send it to the processing center, and the processing center turns it into picture, sound, smell, taste, so on and so forth. The pineal gland has rods and cones because it also picks up on something. However, the pineal gland picks up on different frequencies than your eyeballs do. In the same way that a dog can hear a high-pitched sound that you can't hear, because you don't have an apparatus to pick that up. So there are things within this world that are outside of your frequency range of your eyes, ears, nose, mouth, and so on and so forth. But your pineal gland, however, can pick up on another bandwidth. It's like you're set to pick up 107.5, but if you could just activate your pineal gland, you can pick up 104.9 as well. Let me cut that off. Excuse me, y'all. You see what I'm saying? So you can pick up on more that's out there. It's not like that wasn't there before. It was always there. And hence where they say the spiritual beings are surrounding you. Angels are always encamped around you. Those who have said to pass on are always around you. They passed out of your frequency. They're still here. They're still here. They're just outside of your frequency. You see what I'm saying? So you can pick up on those things if you can activate your pineal gland, which, if you notice, the Vatican has a huge statue of a pine cone in the courtyard. Why the hell would the Vatican have a pine cone in the courtyard? I'll tell you why. Because they know what they haven't told you. And they haven't told you, not necessarily because they're evil and want to keep that information from you, which they do. But again, it's all by design. You designed all this shit before you ever entered it. You see what I'm saying? You entered within your own creation. Let me see. I seen a movie. Let me try to think of what movie that was. Anyway, I'm not going to go too far into that. But I'm going to say that the Vatican does have a statue of a pine cone in the Vatican yard, because they understand what the pineal gland does. Matter of fact, I want to say it was Aristotle or one of those who said that the pineal gland is the seat of the soul. It is literally where you can think of your brain as the world, and the pineal gland would be your body in the midst of that world. And so whereas it appears that you're walking, Maybe you're not walking. Maybe the world is just going past you. Kind of like in those old, the way they used to make old movies, or they probably even still do it now, where you'd be standing still, but the screen behind you is going in a certain way to where it looks like you're actually moving, when in reality, you've never moved at all. The scene behind you and around you is moving. And it's the same thing. It's what they thought about the pineal gland, that the pineal gland is the seat of soul, or what you consider you, and that you're not actually moving, but it is the electricity, the vibrations and shit that's moving around you, that's giving you the illusion that you're walking, or that you're jumping, or that you're falling, or whatever the case may be, when in reality you haven't went no fucking where. It's just the scene around you moving. Same thing like a tornado. You are the eye. Why we call ourselves I. I want to go to the store. I want to eat some food. You are the I in the middle of the storm. You don't actually move. You are darkness. You are stillness. The world around you is that movement. Is the. So whereas you think, you're moving, you're actually not. You're at complete stillness. You're at a complete calm. You always are, always will be. But it is the movement, the movement of the electricity around you that you, by your observation, turns into objects and events and things like that. That gives you the illusion of existence, or what we call life. So a little tidbit of information here, which again, I'll go back to, you say you want the truth, but you probably really don't. You are death in the midst of life, because death is the cessation of movement. It's the stoppage of movement. And so just like the eye in the middle of the storm is completely calm, so are you in the innermost recesses of your being. You are death, and death is your ultimate state of being. Again, I'm going to say it. You want the truth, but you can't handle the truth, because the truth is kind of hard. But once you come to that realization, you are no longer afraid of death. You are no longer afraid of yourself, because death is your original state. Death is what we call home. Hate to say it. But death is not as bad as you've been taught to believe. And again, you were taught by yourself. You set that up. You set that up to have the experience of life. But life, as we know it, is an illusion. It's a complete illusion. Death is the ultimate reality. Darkness. Like they say in the beginning, what does it say? In the beginning, you see the three levels. You see the three things in the very first verse of the Bible. In the beginning, there's time. God created heaven. There's space. And he created earth. There's matter. Time, space, and matter. In the first verse of the Bible. But it also says there that out of the darkness, then God said, let there be light. So darkness is equated to death. So darkness and death were here. Out of death came life. Out of darkness came light. You are that darkness. You are that death. Which is why around the world you cannot find on any continent any aboriginal who was white. You're not going to hear this, but white is a created thing. Black genes are dominant. Darkness is dominant. If there is no light, there will be darkness. Darkness is the base. The only way darkness is not there is if light happens to show up. But other than that, darkness is the backdrop. It's the white page on which the black letters sit. You see what I'm saying? Out of darkness came the light. Out of you came life. You are that death. You are that darkness. And that's the bottom of the rabbit hole. And just like Jim Carrey said, Jim Carrey woke as fuck. Just like Jim Carrey said, there is no Jim. He came to that realization. There is no you. Nothing came out of nothing, and it's going into nothing, and it's all for nothing. All of this is just trying to find meaning, which is balance, because the mean or the medium of anything is the middle. The mean of any two numbers is the middle number in between the two. So you're trying to find meaning. You're trying to find the middle. You're trying to find the X that marked the spot, the center of the circle. You're doing the same thing Hitler did. Did you know Hitler had an envoy and he went to what is considered the center of the earth, or the pupil of the eye? And he tried to go, it's called a Gartha. There's a theory out there that this is a hollow earth and you can actually go within the earth. And within the earth, there's another sun. A sun that never sets, of course. It's almost like what you would view what a atom looks like in modern science. There's a sun within there that never sets because it literally sits at the center of the earth. And it is what causes what they call gravity, which is not really gravity. But anyway, it supposedly sits at the center of the earth, and if you can actually figure out how to get within, then like what they call the heaven in the Bible, where they say the sun never sets, there's no need for no sun and no need for no moon, because the Lamb is the light thereof, the Lamb being you. You see what I'm saying? So nevertheless, I don't know, that was a tangent I just went off of. I don't even know what the hell I was talking about there. Let me see what we got here. Darkness was here first. That's right, Delana. 6 hours back. Yeah. And even in the Hebrew religion, you'll notice they start their day at 6 p.m. Like in Genesis, it says, and let me see how it says. There's no night. It says the morning and the evening, and then it was another day. And then God did something else. I don't know. He created the plants or something. And then there was morning, and then there was evening, and then there was another day. You see, there was no per se night there, because night is the ultimate state of being. It really is. It's the ultimate state of being. And so when you look at the Hebrew religion, they start their clocks. Their new day begins at 6 p.m. And it begins at 6 p.m. for a reason. Why? Because darkness is actually first. The night is actually first. And out of the night, out of darkness, that is you, is produced the light, aka life. So out of death comes life. And inside of life is death, and that is you. You are that dot of death. It's like the yin yang, the yin yang symbol over there where, they got the white side. Let's call that life. There's always a little dot of blackness in there. That's you. You're inside of life, but you yourself are death. But do know that that life came out of you, which is, in your ultimate reality, the darkness, aka the death. And death is simply rest, no movement. Simply rest. And so when they say rest in peace, he's going to his eternal rest. That's essentially what death in its ultimate form is. Now, we see different forms coming in and out of our sphere of awareness, and we call that death. That's not necessarily the ultimate death. That is just death from this frequency. It's like, jumping off of 107.5 to now you're on 104.9. If I don't have my radio station turned to 104.9, I won't see you. You have just died outside. You have just died out of my frequency. You see what I'm saying? But you're still here because there's nowhere else to be. There's nowhere else to be. See, this is the conscious realm right here. And there's a subconscious and there's a superconscious. We've called the superconscious heaven. We've called the subconscious hell. And the conscious is the plane of manifestation where you actually get to live out shit. So there are beings in the subconscious who are trying to possess your body. They are trying to come into the conscious realm so they can enjoy sex and food and life and death and sadness and joy and all these other things. You feel what I'm saying? Sheol, that's right. The grave, that which is within. There are beings there in that state of mind. There's three matrices. They're in that matrix that we've called hell in religion. We've called the id in Jungian psychology. We've called it hell. There's so many different, names we go for it. But there's different states of being. You're in the conscious state right now. You're part of God's consciousness. God who is the oversoul, the great spirit, the all-intelligent being. People want to think that this is just a machine running itself, but it's not. It's not. Just because you're limited in your knowledge right now don't mean at any point in time when you get good and ready, really, really ready, you can tap back into the higher form of yourself. You can open the bottle and take the fluid out and let it join back with the ocean, and you will see the truth of what I'm saying. But again, until you have your own internal experience where you feel this with your own nervous system, you feel this in the deepest recesses of your being, you can only believe what I'm saying and base your life off of it. But that's just as good as nothing. That's ashes. Completely ashes. As long as you're doing something because somebody told you that you should have done it, or because somebody said this is the right way, you might as well not fucking do it, because you're not earning anything. I'm telling you, man, you're not earning anything. You're not doing yourself any good. You can eat fruits and the fucking fruits will poison you. You can start perming your hair and you still won't get no information through your hair, because it's not actually about that shit. I'm trying to tell y'all, the fruit is made of the same shit the chicken leg is made of, which is the same shit that this plant, this lamp is made of, and the wall is made of. At the end of the day, it's all the same shit. It's really not about the flesh of the thing. It's not about whether the flesh of the strawberry is better than the flesh of the chicken. Okay? Flesh is flesh is flesh. It's all made of the same goddamn shit at different vibrations. It's really not about that. If you can get yourself into your own vibration, get on your own wavelength, you can turn that chicken leg more healthier than the goddamn strawberry. And that's the truth. That's right. That's right. If you can really get within your own frequency, the police won't fuck with you. They won't come for you. You feel what I'm saying? You could watch like what is it, Psalms 83? It says that they fall to the left and they fall to the right, but none of them gonna touch your doorstep. That's what I'm talking about. So when you see me posting this shit on Facebook about police, it's not me, boo. I'm good. When you see me posting this shit on Facebook about the world coming to the end, I don't give a fuck. I really don't. Because we just gonna create a new one. And we're gonna have fun playing in this shit. It's like playing hide and seek. You've hidden from yourself. And you discover yourself. This is why you see in the secret societies, they got all this shit. They got little hand symbols and all kinds of shit to show who knows and who don't. Who's woke and who's not. You see what I'm saying? Because the rules of the game is you're not supposed to wake anybody up. You're not supposed to wake anybody up. That's like opening the flower, trying to help the flower open up. That's the rules. You don't wake nobody up. But if they wake up on their own, then you can say, yeah, I'm glad you woke up. Shit, ain't this shit fun? You feel what I'm saying? But you don't go wake nobody up. That's part of the rules. So they got little signs, symbols, and shit to show who knows and who's woke about what's really going on here, about the matrices. So as you're trying to escape the matrix, like my Alzheimer's patients try to escape the Alzheimer's unit, I'm here to let you know that you are home, my friend, and there is no escape. There's no escape. And just like the Alzheimer's patients, you don't know you was here last life, but I'm here to tell you, you was here last life, boo. You are your ancestors. So as you dishonor your ancestors, you dishonor yourself. And again, this is on a superficial level, because there really are no ancestors. There's no me. There's no you. There's none of this shit. But for the sake of the game, because I love the game, I really do. Sometimes it gets agitating. Sometimes it wears down on my spirit. And that's when I have to remember what's really going on here. But as long as you know what's really going on in here, have fun playing the game. Because at the end of the day, none of this shit really matters. That's the big secret. There is no real meaning to this shit. There's no meaning. There's no beginning. There's no end. There's no birth. There's no death. You believe in birth because you believe in death. And you believe that you will die because you actually believe you was fucking born and you wasn't. All of this is one grand illusion. And I am you and you are me. But at some point when we get tired of playing the game raw with ourselves, then we will begin to love each other. We will begin to treat each other, who is all the same being, with respect. Hence why Jesus, aka the Bible, aka the archetype, says, what do they call it? That's the golden rule. Golden rule. Do unto others as you'd have them do unto yourself. Because what you don't know is what you do unto others, you're doing unto yourself. So when you get tired of being oppressed and stressed and beat the fuck down, you will stop oppressing and stressing and beating the fuck down. Because you are doing this to your goddamn self. So as we want to blame the white folks, know that you are the white folks in the deepest recesses of your soul. And when you change your fucking thinking, your thinking will fucking change. That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying. You're doing it to yourself. So don't think when I talk about people, I know I'm talking about myself. I do. And I still do it because this is the game. I chose to play this game. It's awful lonely in the ultimate reality if you ever been there. It's fucking dark, it's scary, and it's lonely. If you ever go, matter of fact, let me give you a prime example of that. Watch the Truman Show. When Truman, he gets in the boat, Christoph, who lives up in the moon, they say the moon is supposed to be a new construct any goddamn way. But anyway, the moon represents sin. It's not real. Christoph, who lives up in the moon, when Truman gets in the boat and he like, y'all bring the rain, bring the wind. I don't give a damn if I die. I'm going to find the truth, right? So he in the boat, he gets to the end and it's the wall. It's made, it looked like clouds, but it's really just a wall. So he climbs up the steps. He gets to the edge. He opens the door. And what does he see? Blackness. It's fucking blackness right there. And I'm here to tell you that at the base of the rabbit hole, at the bottom of it all, when you get to the deepest, darkest ends of the fucking truth, there's nothing there but death, darkness, and rest. And if you want to spend the rest of your eternity there, have fun. You feel what I'm saying? Have fun. I'm here to tell you, though, if you really went there, and there are some who have, and those who have know what I am talking about, it is the most depressing place you can be. But at the same time, it is a needful place when this world begins to be too much. You ever been so depressed that death didn't sound so bad after all? You ever been that depressed? Where you felt like it's just too much fucking going on that you just wanted to find the deepest, darkest hole and just put yourself in there? You ever felt like that? I know you have. You know how I know you have? Because you are me and I am you. And if I felt it, I know you felt it. Because we all on the same wavelength. I felt it. Well, I didn't give a damn. I just wanted to be in a black hole with no type of sounds, no nothing. Just straight nothingness. That is you. That is your original state of being. So it's a scary place, but it can also be a comforting place, depending on where you're at in this, what we call life, in this hurricane of movement here. It can be a comforting place for you, but nobody likes to stay there for long. And hence is why we keep coming out to this superficial world and playing this stupid ass game. And which is why conflict is absolutely necessary. Just like in a football game, it's two teams against each other. And while they're in the game, they really play hard. I mean, they tackle, they fucking do what they gotta do to get the other one. But at the end of the day, when the game is over, they can all shake hands and laugh together. It's the same thing here. It's the same dichotomy in America with the white against black. It's the same dichotomy in the world with between those who have and those who have nots. It's the same dichotomy, the blue team against the red team. At the end of the day, when you pull off the jerseys, when you pull off the skin, when you pull off the flesh, it's all the same spirit on the inside. And just like we watch football and play football for fun, we play life for fun. But when you get tired of playing, when you done been tackled too many times, when you done been beat the fuck down, know that you can take that jersey off. And you can go to that deep, dark, quiet place. It's called your soul. And you was losing your soul. Hence the flood of information. Helping you find your way back to that deep, dark, quiet, still place that we call death. I know that's hard to grasp. And then you begin to realize that life is in death, and death, who is you, is in life. Even when you get to symbology like, what's this? The Avenger, no, Guardians of the Galaxy. Y'all know Thanos. Thanos is with death. That's his girl. You feel what I'm saying? And Thanos, theosophy, Theo is a name for God. God is married to death. Who is death? You. You're death. This is the bottom of the rabbit hole I'm talking about. A lot of people still, but I'm going to help you out. This is the bottom of the rabbit hole. And if it gets to be too much, this truth-seeking shit, if you find yourself not liking the world in which you're living, when you find yourself not being content with your surroundings, when you find yourself not being content with who you are as a person, because your fucking hair's a certain way, because you eat a fucking certain way, when you find yourself being lost in the sauce, I want you to know that you can always just stop. Just stop. Just stop. Just stop. Stop seeking for truth. The truth is going to be there. You ain't got to fucking chase it down. I promise you, you don't. You know, like it says, goodness and mercy. What did it? Psalms 23. Goodness and mercy shall follow me. It didn't say you got to chase goodness and mercy down. No, it say goodness and mercy will follow you all the days of your life. So when the truth is feel like it's running you off the cliff, you either chasing it or it's pushing you too fast, I guarantee you that's not God. That's the devil. That's Satan, the opposing spirit. Stop. 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 Just fucking stop. It's just that easy. Just stop. Regroup. Draw back. Cut the internet off. Get off Facebook. Don't read nothing. Go to fuck to sleep. I know, I'm what I always say, stay woke. Stay woke. But what is true in this reality is also true in the other realities, the different levels. Like I said, there's levels to this shit. Try staying up in this reality. Stay up for a week and tell me what happens. Come back and tell me what happened. But I already know what's going to happen. I already know. You're going to fucking lose your mind. You're going to be delusional and shit. You might end up fucking wielding a knife around your house trying to kill your old man. I mean, you can't stay up. You really, really can't stay up. So I say stay woke, but that's just, again, a part of the game, part of the persona, part of the, the play. You really can't stay woke. When you find yourself getting delusional, that's because you're trying to stay woke. You're fighting your sleep. You're getting cranky and angry. You're mad at the whole fucking world. You feel what I'm saying? That's what happens when you don't go to sleep. Dude, just go the fuck to sleep. What do I mean by go to sleep? Go to a movie. Stop looking at symbology. Stop thinking about what the sun represents, what all this shit represents. Who am I? Just try to be what they call normal. Try to just go the fuck to sleep. You don't have to be conscious all the time. You really don't. They're not going to tell you this because they got an agenda. You feel what I'm saying? A conscious teacher is supposed to teach you consciousness, and they want you to stay woke. You know what I'm saying? That's what they do. But I'm here to tell you the balance of the perspective. And the balance is you can't stay woke all the time. Sometimes you need to go to sleep. And by go to sleep, I'm talking about that little deep, dark, quiet place within you. That place, it's like the mother, the nurturer. That's where we get the word matrix from. Matrix, matra, the mata. Maternal, mother. The father is the pattern, paternal. You see? The mother is the matter, maternal. So we go to that deep, dark place and we find rest for our souls, just like the scripture says. And you rest there and you recoup there and you let your external life be on autopilot. You do the same regular shit, perm your hair, buy a wig, put some lipstick on, go to the goddamn movies, go on some dates, drink some wine, eat a piece of chicken. I mean, I'm being real can fucking get. This might not be what y'all want to hear, and y'all can say I'm wrong if you want to, but I done been to the goddamn mountaintop like Martin Luther say. So you can't tell me shit. You can't teach me nothing. I'm just being real. Call me stubborn if you want. Everybody got their own goddamn truth. My truth, I didn't get it out of a book. I got books that corroborate what I have experienced within my own self. But what I consider my truth, I got directly from me. My water done been poured back into the ocean. I had that experience. When I had the experience, I didn't know what the fuck was going on because nobody had ever taught me that shit. I thought it was Satan, straight up. I thought it was fucking Satan. You know, at first I was scared. I didn't know demons was after me. I didn't know what it was. Demons, angels, niggas, what? I didn't know how the fuck I'm supposed to know. How am I supposed to know? You feel what I'm saying? But cut to, let's see what this is. 6 years later, cut to 6 years later. I continuously ask the spirit. How I started is exactly how I ended. Continuously ask the spirit because I know that there's a great spirit. It's not a belief. It's a literal knowledge. I communicate with the great spirit in the same way I communicate with you, but we communicate through the language of symbolism. You feel what I'm saying? And by we, I mean the great spirit as in my higher self, the ocean in which I am living, breathing, and moving in, like scripture says. You feel what I'm saying? So I communicate with this great spirit through the language of symbolism. All I got to do is ask a question, and the answer is coming to me straight up. I used to have to wait at first I would wait like a year. Literally, I would ask a question, wait a year, and then I would finally get the answer. And then it slowly started getting sooner and sooner and sooner until now I can ask a question, go in the living room, and somebody will be saying something on the TV that's giving me my answer. Or somebody will call me on the phone that'll have my answer. Or somebody will be on Facebook that's saying about the same shit that I was saying. You see what I'm saying? So, yeah. And that's basically what happened. Everybody's ego is getting melted. Look at the new movie. What is it called? Let's see. The Guardians of the Galaxy. The new movie where the Star-Lord, Lord, his father is Ego. Okay? And Ego begins playing himself all over the place. And what he's trying to do is turn the whole universe into himself. And this is what I was talking about when everybody is saying that, I am God and, all is self, basically saying that all is self, which is completely wrong. Not your ego. Your ego literally has to die. Your ego has to die. So let me see what I got on the comments here. I don't know how long I've been on this thing, but I've probably been on this thing for quite some time. Been there, but it woke me up and I started my spiritual journey. I am my highest vibration now. Yes. Yeah. There is an actual, genuine spiritual enlightenment. There's a man, Walt Whitman. He experienced this. Madame Blavatsky experienced this. Hitler experienced this. Where do you think these people got the power to influence and do what they do? Because when you have this experience, it's like literally being electrified. Did you know that a magnet actually is not magnetic until it's been hit with a bolt of electricity? And it's the same thing with you. You are a living, moving, walking, breathing battery. But until you get hit with that electricity, you're not magnetized. But once you get hit with that electricity, you become a magnetic being, and therefore you can influence things. People come around you. You'll see when you go to the store, nobody was there. As soon as you get out the fucking car, you turn around, the whole store is full. Because you are a magnetic being and you don't realize it. To those who've had this experience, this bolt of electricity, it has been summed up throughout history in many different ways. In the story of Jesus, the way it is described as a dove descending from heaven and resting bodily on Jesus. And you notice after that experience, what they call the baptism of the Holy Spirit, after that is when Jesus began to minister to the people. It's the same way with Buddha. What it said, that Buddha was sitting under a tree, an apple fell. The apple, we all know what the apple means. That's this lightning fell and hit him in the fucking head. You feel what I'm saying? And it's the same enlightenment experience, and hence he started what is considered, Buddhism today. Same thing with Confucius, same thing with, all of the greats, Madame Blavatsky, Hitler. Though we may not agree with what Hitler did great things. By great, I do not mean good. Do not get me twisted. By great, I mean great. A mountain can be great and not be good. You feel what I'm saying? So I'm not saying that the shit Hitler did was good. I'm not necessarily it was bad either. What I'm saying is, nevertheless, he did some amazing fucking great shit. Okay? Madame Blavatsky, who started Theosophy, she did some great shit. Aleister Crowley, who started the Golden Dawn or whatever, he did some great shit. Albert Pike, who started the Freemasons, or at least was a patron of the Freemasons, he did some great shit. Okay? These people did great shit. Jesus, though we may not necessarily agree with what has come about of what, he did, nevertheless, it was some great shit. It was so goddamn great, we still entrapped in it today. And that's what people aren't realizing. While they're steady praising Jesus, you could be having the same experience Jesus had. He even said that. He said, according to the story, because Jesus is an archetype, he said that you will do these things and even greater. Nobody believed that shit, though. Everybody looking for him to save them. Why are you looking at Jesus to save? I'm going to tell you what Jesus told Moses when Moses was at the Red Sea and he went and prayed to Jesus because Pharaoh was back there, him and the army coming up on him like that. And he went and prayed to Jesus. Whoa, Lord, he said, there's a whole Red Sea in front of me. What I'm supposed to do? You know what God told him? God said, I gave you the staff, homeboy. Use it. And the same thing is true now. The seed is within you. A lot of y'all done had prophecies on your life that said God has planted a seed down in you, but you got to birth the seed. That's what it's talking about. That's the Jesus seed. You understand? Because Jesus had this experience, but you waiting on Jesus. But just like God told Moses, you've been given the power. You got to birth that shit. It's just like a man put a seed in a woman's belly, but you got to birth that shit. It's in there. He done did his part. What you want? You feel me? And it's the same thing with God. He put the seed. She put the seed. Whatever. God is God is hermaphrodite. He is transgender. God put the seed in you. You have to birth that seed, though. And I'm here to tell y'all, all you men out there. Okay, let me say this first before I say what I'm going to say. Every manifestation of God is a female. Even if you have a male body, God himself or herself is the male who penetrates you and becomes your consciousness. You see? So you yourself are actually female, whether you're male or female. What I'm telling you is God has penetrated you, has put a seed within your soul. And for the men who've never experienced this on this level, let me tell you, it is some painful and uncomfortable shit. It's going to be painful and it's going to be uncomfortable. Birthing is always painful and uncomfortable. But just like on the physical realm, when a woman gives birth to her baby, when you give birth to the God within, you won't remember all the shit you went through to birth that baby. But a lot of y'all out here stealing babies, and you adopting babies, and ain't nothing wrong with your body. God put the seed in you, and you could birth your own baby. But instead of going through the trouble of birthing your own baby, you rather take his baby, and her baby, and Jesus' baby, and Buddha's baby, and Confucius' baby, and Osiris and Horus' baby. When you could create your own baby. And by baby, I mean religion. See, Jesus, Christianity is for Christ. Buddhism is for Buddha. You feel what I'm saying? You need to have your own experience based off your own temperament that is going to be perfect for your own life. The formula changes from person to person. Make your own formula. Do the things that Jesus did and greater. But when Jesus said, you see, Jesus said, you got to follow him. You got to follow him in the same way you following your conscious teachers on Facebook. What he mean by follow him is because there is a way to have this experience. The old mystery schools back in the day, that's what they did, because everything ain't for everybody. Again, I say, like, the rule is you can't wake nobody up that don't want to be woke up or is not ready to be woke up, because some information at the wrong time can be detrimental. In the same way that giving a razor to a young boy can kill him, when if you give it to an older man, it could be a blessing. So the same thing is true with information. You can't give everything to everybody. So what they formulated was called mystery schools. And that's what these pyramids were said to be. They would go in there and they would have these initiations. And in the pyramid, the way it's shaped, the sound would bounce off of the wall. And the light would come in at certain angles and highlight certain things. So there's a lot of, with acoustics and vibrational themes and the manifestation of light that has to do with the pyramid. So anyway, they had these mystery schools where you would actually go in there, and it was like our school now. You had kindergarten, first grade, second grade, different levels. Different degrees is what they call them. So even now with the Freemasonry, you see that they have, I think the highest is 33 degrees. And the reason that is because at 33 degrees, either way, either water begins to freeze or water begins to boil. Depending on what the negative 33 or something to that effect is when it begins to freeze, and then at 33 is when it begins to boil. So 33 degrees is the degree line at which you can change vibrations, basically, because essentially that's what solid, liquid, and gas is showing. It's all H2O at different rates of vibration. And the same thing is true for us. You know, when they say you die, you're just basically changing vibrations in the same way that a piece of ice melts into water, or it changes vibrations and turns into gas, aka dies. You can't see it anymore, but I guarantee you it's still here. Nevertheless, back in the day, they had the mystery schools where you would actually go in and they would make sure that you were ready to receive this information, because certain pieces of information, if you receive them too soon and your brain is not able to process this in an effective way, it can actually inhibit your growth and create more problems that you spend years trying to come out of than if you had a guide. You know, like I've said before, it's kind of like when people came supposedly over here to the New World, and some of the lands were not explored yet. And so they, what was the Lewis and Clark expeditions, you know, and so it's kind of scary when you're actually trekking through untrodden territory. And a lot of what we're going through now is untrodden territory. And so we have what we call our Facebook guides, our Facebook gurus and shit, who's supposed to lead us through the darkness of this conscious movement shit, this all is God shit, this, you know, this all is vibration, just this wealth of information that's coming on. It's just like in the days of Noah, you know, it says they were eating and drinking and then the flood came. And it's the same is true now, except for it's the flood of information. And people are fucking getting lost in the sauce. They're literally fucking drowning. And I'm pretty sure that only a couple of souls, which is basically a couple of egos, a couple of limited beings, will actually be able to retain their sense of self, in this flood. Because ultimately where we're going to is where people are losing the ego, they're losing their sense of self, and they're merging back into the whole, like the movie Lucy, like the movie Transcendence, where at the end of the movie all the molecules that make up who they are actually went into the reality and became the world. Yeah, literally became the world. And so that is kind of where we're at right now, is people are losing their ego and they are becoming meshed within the world. But ultimately it's all an illusion, and you are all that there is, and you are everything. Everything is everything, just like the axiom says. And I would implore you, if you haven't seen it yet, it's somewhere on my timeline, but I'm pretty sure you could Google it as well. There's a song that Prince made. And, of course, if you know anything about Prince, you know his symbol, what his symbol is. And he has the eyeglasses with the third eye up there. But he made a song, and it's basically saying, it's on my timeline, you just might have to scroll down a little bit, where he's saying that you are the universe. And he's basically saying in the song, the bottom of the rabbit hole, the ultimate truth of reality, that you are everything, and everything is everything. And there's nothing here but you. So to conclude my video, I'm fixing to hang it up, but I just wanted to tell everybody, don't get lost in the sauce. You could play the game, you could put on the mask, you could, you know, be part of the struggle, be part of the attempt to better ourselves, but at the ultimate reality, everything is completely perfect, and you can't get any better than you already are. So just don't forget that. Don't forget that as you go through life, the ultimate reality, because it is the salvation. It is the truth is the salvation for all your elements, for all your mental diseases, or for your uneasiness, you know. And that's pretty much all I wanted to say. Can't think of anything else to say. But if you have any questions, you can inbox me, or wow. Yeah. Okay, so you can inbox me or whatever the case may be, and I'll try to get back to you on that. So I hope y'all enjoyed watching this video. I want y'all all to know that I love you more, or maybe not more, but just as much as I love myself, because I am very, very, very aware that you are myself. Whether you know that or not, you will come to know that very, 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 very soon. That, like I said earlier in this video, just like Eddie Murphy played all the characters in Professor Clump, or whatever, the Clumps, you're playing all the characters in the movie called The Humans, you know. So, thank you for watching me, which is you. And thank you for being you. And I love you. And man, keep your head up. I know shit rough right now. You know what I'm saying? Waves of depression, waves of suicide is coming in. You know what I'm saying? But it's all part of the change. And don't forget, bro, it's not to the swift. It's to he who endures. So no matter how rough it get, just fucking survive. Survival is victory. If you can make it to the end, you have won. Don't forget that. I love you guys. Bye.